Hello and welcome to the Bones Horror Podcast. This is our episode 83. Wow. Army of Darkness. Tonight we have with us Jess.
Hello.
And Larry.
Hello.
And Ewan.
Hello.
It's all four of us. It's been a little while since we've had all four, isn't it? Maybe?
Last one we didn't. The one before we did, I think.
Yeah, and it's been a couple of weeks as well. Nearly a couple of weeks since we didn't go out last weekend. And I'll tell you all about that, why I didn't come on in a minute. So it's. I'm pleased with how it's all going. Anyway, I'm a bit stuck for words then, but I'm pleased because we're getting a bit of a following now. So it's only taken a couple of years, but we're getting there. Last week, I've been I'm a football coach, as some of you may know on the podcast. I don't know if you guys know that. Anyway, so I coach youth mini soccer football, and I decided that I would take the jump to the next level of coaching, which is the UEFA C license. So I started undertaking that last week, and there's a lot to it. It's a kind of a teaching course as well, and it's going to take me about 4 months, I think. So last weekend I was running around like a loony at my age, coaching, and it was in Basingstoke, so about nearly 50 miles from here. So that was full on Saturday and Sunday. And when I got home Sunday, it was running really late and I was absolutely knackered. Hence why when Larry messaged through that he was struggling to get there for the podcast, that was an easy way out for me. Go, let's do it another time because I was absolutely knackered. So apologies everyone who normally tunes in, but so that was me. So anyway, lots more films I got to watch. I think you got about 12 on your list, Jess, haven't you?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we'll miss some of them
Speed
off and do them. Yeah, maybe do some next week.
Speed run.
Yeah. So
Good, bad.
yeah, bollocks. Yeah, so what have you been up to, Larry? I know last week you were stuck somewhere, weren't you? So
No, I was in traffic. So I went up to London for a little bit.
The Big Smoke. Yeah.
Was gonna be there as well. To meet Ewan and then work.
Oh, I thought you might have been going to meet the Queen or something.
I love how Ewan's face perplexed with the cinema.
Oh yeah, of course. Sorry, yeah. Sorry, completely. I thought.
Don't tell you. I just go. I'm going to see Ewan today.
Knock on my door. I was like, oh god. So yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yes, but I ended up having to come back kind of short notice, and then I was just stuck in traffic. So that's when I sent the message and just like, I ain't gonna be there probably.
Yeah.
It's been kind of a straightforward week, really. I really don't have that much to
that's
go
fine.
on.
We've got 40 films to squeeze in the next hour. So
the only thing is that I'm just trying to get everyone the bits for filming for July.
Wow.
Desperately, and not last minute, like the day before. Going, hey,
have I got to wear a costume?
An outfit.
Do I need a
costume?
Well, I don't know what kind of outfit. Because obviously your film may be set at a certain time. And if I turn up in jeans,
they'll be like
what you want. You know
no,
what I mean?
they'll be like an
say
outfit.
I turn up in my chimpanzee outfit, for instance. That might,
or if it's set in modern times, and you turn up in like sort of Victorian gear.
Yes, exactly. Or I'm dressed as a caveman. Or something like that. Oh,
just
sorry.
Just fuck
Sorry,
with the
Larry.
audience, Yeah. But no, yeah. So that's it for me.
Oh, okay. Jess.
Work.
I don't know if everyone knows who Jess is on the podcast.
No,
she does the technical stuff quite often, so there might be trailers tonight.
There might be.
Yeah.
More of them. My computer was struggling to open them all.
Well,
thanks for sending me links, those of you who did.
yeah, that's something I do. I'm quite organised like that.
My bad.
But I did actually notice there was some emailing back and forth, and I thought, wow.
I know.
First time ever.
Yeah, I was
quite
going to say
professional now. You started that.
Well, I thought I'd add a bit of professionalism to our
No
structure.
one responded to my email.
That's brilliant. So like we're carrying on doing that, and you might get some more links, Jess. You never know.
Yeah.
I'm going to send you random
Plug
links.
them all in.
I'm going to just
Just
send
like-
you random links. Like, put a title next to it, and you'll click it. It'll just take you somewhere completely different.
Don't fall for it, Jess.
That's
He's
what I'll
played
be
this
playing.
prank
Though.
on me before.
Whatever
Yeah.
it be, I'm playing it. Sorry.
Get us banned. Yeah, get us banned.
Oh, just takes me back to uni.
You in?
Yeah, well, I've been abroad. I went over to Poland for a wedding. I was very nervous about it because I'm not really a big fan of weddings generally.
Or Poland?
No, I'm fine with Poland. I'm fine with Poland. Polish people, very nice, very nice. But yeah,
Yeah.
all the weddings I've been to have been. I mean, I really like the people getting married and whatever. And they're happy and they love each other and blah blah blah.
Great
But
for them.
it's always the sort of, I don't know. There's a certain etiquette to weddings that are just sort of, you got to follow rules, and if you break one, you're seen as like impolite, all that. all
What
that. So
kind
you've
of
got-
rules? Because obviously it's in Poland as well. So
Well,
it's
no,
a
but
little
this
bit
is the
different.
thing. But this is the thing, is that the weddings I've been to previously were like that. But with this one, it was far more casual. I guess I still had to wear a suit and everything, and there was an
Okay.
order, and it was the usual thing. But I felt
Yeah.
like I could, I don't know, I felt like I could say rude things without offending anyone, and it was fine. And
Did you
there
do a
was-
speech?
No. I mean, there was only like 2 speeches, and it was from the bride and groom, which I was kind of thankful for because it didn't like drag on the night or anything. And it was a really lovely service, and they had an open bar, which is just so. If anyone is planning a wedding, make sure there's an open bar, as well as actually something which I think should be in every night out. I don't like nightclubs. I don't like going to them. But if they had like a samovar in the corner where it was just boiling water and tea and milk at the side, that would suit me just fine, because I can get like plastered through the night. I think I drank at this wedding. I drank like 5 Sex on the Beaches, but like at sort of 12 a.m. I could just go to this samovar and just have a couple of cups of tea, and it was great. And then I could sort of like sober up a bit, and I didn't have to like throw up and stuff, and it was great. Although there was this. I'm not sure if I should tell the story.
Please do.
I was
Okay,
going to
okay.
say you have to now.
I mean, I think everyone knows it happened. So basically, I went with a few people, and this guy who was next to me, who was also living in the same or sleeping in the same sort of B&B with us, he had got really, really drunk, to the point where he was like getting extraneous drinks from elsewhere. I think he was drinking like moonshine or something.
Okay.
And I know. And there was a point where he was sort of leaning over his plate. He was next to me because we were having dinner as well at this sort of at the reception, and we were all on tables. And he was sort of leaning over his plate, an empty plate like this, just sort of leaning over, and a sort of bit of dribble just go out, and then he just threw up on the plate. It was the most surreal thing I've ever seen, because all the other weddings I've been to, that would never happen. But with this, it was sort of like, and it kept on happening. And the people had to keep on removing the plates and replacing them with other
Well,
It
Once they get in a new
happened
place.
multiple. It happened multiple times. Like
Wow.
just throw and then sick, move the plate.
It was the strangest thing I'd ever seen, and obviously the guy had no memory of it the day afterwards. But it was overall, it was a great few days, and and I think I felt more for the fact that these guys were getting married, because they're like, well, the friend I knew who was getting married, I've known since primary school, so over 20 years. So it was kind of, I don't know, I felt more emotionally invested, if that's not bad to say for all the other people who I've been to weddings for. But no, it was good. It was good. I enjoyed myself.
Nice. Wow. More exciting than my week. So, wow. So, Army of Darkness. Shall we talk about it? So, Ash finds himself trapped in medieval times. He must quest for the Necronomicon, a book of evil which can return him to his time. Unfortunately, he releases the evil trapped inside. And he does that by not saying the words. Is that right? Klaatu, Barada, Nikto. or Nicola. Or yeah, he sneaks some words in that goes a bit wrong. So 1992, written by Sam and Ivan Raimi, directed by Sam Raimi. I think it's the fourth Evil Dead recently. We've kind of spoken about. This to be the fourth. Let's talk about the actors. So Bruce Campbell played Ash, and Embeth Davids as Sheila, Marcus Gilbert as Lord Arthur. At a budget of 11 million, a box office of 21 million. That's pretty much its success. I can remember this coming out at the cinema. You guys wouldn't remember that? I wouldn't have thought.
No, I wasn't born. I don't think any of us were born, were we?
No, I don't think I'm very old. Rotten Tomato of what do you think, Jess? Because obviously I've got a feeling you really enjoyed this one. So what are you thinking? Don't disappoint me, Jess.
78.
Oh, close. Okay, I'll tell you, it's 73.
80. All right.
I'll say 73. But what do you think the audience
73
score was? Yeah, what do you think the audience was on Rotten?
I reckon they didn't like it as much.
I was
as
gonna
the others.
say, you hear that a lot, that the third one's the most disliked, but probably like what, 50, 60 something? Maybe?
87.
51.
Oh wow.
You're
Wow.
all wrong.
Very wrong.
So
Were the
public-
audience scores for the last two, were they similar?
I'd have to
obviously we
look
can-
that up,
yeah.
Larry.
Larry's a
Because
why do
I
you have
really
Come
don't
on.
know. I think I read somewhere that it was higher. That the Rotten Tomato scores themselves, 1 and 2, were in the 90s, weren't they? But yeah, I should know that. And I'm sorry I've let you down again. And with my lack of research, yes, Dan, my name's Ash Housewares. That's what Dan's saying. I can remember Ash in Housewares. I really enjoyed this film. I watched it with my 13-year-old because it is a 15, and I thought he would be fine to watch this, and he actually really enjoyed it. It is a mad film. Certainly, there are some very... I always see it as Ash, from the first one to the third one to the series, going through an evolution of going mad, basically, because he does change, especially in the third one, with the way he is with the ladies, the way he is with the way, just everything just amazes me. It's like his journey to madness. So there's more of that with the little Ashes, with the mirrors. Do you remember that? When the mirror breaks, I think. And obviously opening the book, which he doesn't do very well. That's very funny in itself because he forgets the Nick-2 bit, doesn't he? I think of what he needs to say to actually open the book safely or to take the book. Yeah, it's just everything about it. Hail to the king, baby. There's a few things I wrote, and it does go off a little bit. I think just before the third act, if you can call it that. I don't know if you remember, like, I used to review things like I used to have a beginning, right? And then I used to talk about the middle, and I call that the second act, and then the end, which I call the third act. Okay? You're with me so far? 3 parts to a film. Okay, that's how I used to review.
Three
because
people who've studied film.
yeah, so you guys know. For
Yeah.
me, a kind of idiot, and I was doing a podcast with lads that really did need me to explain what the fuck I was talking about half the time. So like, yeah, so that's how I used to do it: the beginning, the middle, and the end. So I don't know what else to say about this because I'm just really interested, especially Jess, what you think of this film, because I might get you the new Blu-ray set for your birthday, you know.
Oh, thanks.
And and I've got the director's kind of cut as well, and we would talk about that. But on the Blu-ray, it's only in SD, I think. It's not in HD or anything. Have you got that, Larry?
What, the third one?
Yeah, the director's cut kind of, but it's not in high definition.
I think mine's a Blu-ray. of the third.
Mine's not. It's a SD version on my Blu-ray. And that's got that weird. It's got the ending in that I kind of said to you all to have a watch of, which I'm sure Larry had anyway. But I don't know, Jess has. And we'll talk about it in a bit then. So, what are you thinking, Jess? Come on. And Dan's saying Kev is losing it, right? And yeah, it's been a long day, Dan, as you can imagine. So yeah, so if you want to start at the beginning, Jess, and work your way through.
I don't know if I can remember.
lead us completely through Act 1, 2, and 3. Go.
Let me just get the script. Give me a second. Stuff happens.
I like that. So stuff at the beginning happens.
Yeah, he's there. There's sand.
So there's sand, but it's
sand
obviously
horses.
that progression from the second one because you've watched that and you know how we got to the sand.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I was glad that it kind of followed straight on, like directly into that.
Could have been weird if it didn't.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, it might have time jumped slightly, you know,
Yeah.
to him being.
I think
kind
it's
of
slightly
a while.
different, wasn't it? Like between the.
I felt like it. I felt like it changed a couple of.
Yeah.
Went back and forth on itself at the beginning, but I quite liked the whole pit thing.
Yeah,
where
that
he
was
falls into
amazing. The
pit.
blood.
That was
the blood.
a really cool scene.
Yeah.
With the
Because
fight scene.
he gets sucked, doesn't he, back in time at the end of the second one? He goes into almost this swell pool and then ends up way back in the past.
Yeah,
because of the spell?
1300.
1300s, yeah.
Yeah, and then it's like the image of him in the book that's like the whole
Yeah.
vision of.
He had a lot of shotgun shells.
Mm.
He carried on him.
And I'm guessing he travelled in sort of space as well, because I mean, America wasn't like that in 1300, I don't think. So he would have travelled to Britain, I would have thought, with loads of
He
sand.
definitely came to Britain with sand. Yeah.
Not the most
Wait.
historically accurate film, I don't think.
There's a lot of sand on the Isle of Wight. Maybe that's where he was.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Mm.
There was no sea though, was there?
Well, with the alternative ending, they show that he's obviously we'll talk about it later, but he's actually in London.
It's Big Ben, isn't it?
Yeah, Big
Think-
Ben's like collapsed.
See, that's what's interesting actually, because I think I watched that version, which was on Amazon Prime. I didn't realize it was an alternate version. It's now Dan's just said it's now obvious that they already some stuff happened. It's a great quote.
Couldn't tell before.
Yeah.
At the beginning as well, Dan. Some stuff happened at the
Yeah.
beginning.
And the middle, and funnily
Yeah.
enough, also at the end.
At the end. Yeah. It's all,
Stuff just happens. Stuff just happens.
Stuff just happens.
Yeah.
It's how I start all my reviews.
That's how we
Just
watch
how
films.
stuff
Not
happens.
in real life.
Yeah.
I would love it if every one of your reviews was like that. I went, the Northman stuff happens to
Stuff
Adam.
happens. Yeah, it's all right. Yeah. But yeah, so the Amazon Prime version is the alternate. It's the director's cut essentially, with that ending where he wakes up
Too late.
too late, and he's in
One
sort of apocalypse
drop.
London.
But
Yeah,
so he gets at the end of it, Ash, there's an alternative ending where he gets told to take like this liquid and have 6 drops, and it will make him sleep, and he'll wake up in present day. But then
600
obviously
years later.
he takes them, sleeps in his car under the where the rubble and the rock have fallen, and in the alternative he wakes up and he's slept too much, and it's now post-apocalyptic London. But who knows why they scrapped that?
Yeah, but again, it's the official one on Amazon Prime. So clearly, I mean, there are actually many versions of this film. I think there are like 4 or 5 different versions. The longest of which is something like 108 minutes, which is like on a very special edition that's only available wherever.
I didn't know that.
I think that's in there.
Yeah.
I'm not even. No, I think so. Guys, huge,
Wanted to
big
get that.
fan, big fan of the Evil Dead.
So
Me
Yeah.
too, but I don't own that.
Is the original one where he is back in the shop?
Yeah.
I think so.
And then
Yeah.
there's like
Yes.
That's
Yeah,
the
is that
original
the one you
one,
watched?
Dave.
Is that the one you
Yeah.
watched, Jess? That's the one I watched.
I watched the Internet Plus version.
See, I haven't
Okay.
seen that one.
Nice.
which is interesting.
He
So
ends
I've
up-
got the
he
more
ends up-
nihilistic one.
Yeah, he ends up. So it's essentially what they just changes is they kind of get skipped over, and they say like, drink this, and then it kind of just kind of fades into he's back in present day. He's working in a supermarket kind of thing, and then it ends with like a little cliffhanger where the evil comes back, possesses somebody, and then he just goes.
As he's like telling
Yeah.
someone about all this crazy stuff that he's done, this guy's all like, yeah, really, really.
Oh, that story about how you were the king. That's pretty cool.
Can that kind of go straight on the Ashy Slashy, doesn't it? Really, from there, does it or not?
Yeah, well, I think so. Like it kind of
Yeah.
goes on to Ash versus the Evil Dead quite
Yeah,
seamlessly if you take that ending.
yeah.
But
It's so yeah. Let's move on to Ewan because I think you've enjoyed it, Jess. I think.
Yeah, stuff happened.
Yeah, and you like the pit. You like the pit.
I liked the pit where stuff also happened in the pit.
Things did happen in the pit, and I really enjoyed that. And also with the mini ashes and things happened then as well. There was lots of
Oh,
ashes, and that was quite
that was
funny. I
great.
thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Ewan, did you like this film? Come on.
I did like this film.
Okay.
I actually did. I was worried because the only way to get it on Amazon Prime was to buy it, so I had to pay like $7.99 or whatever. And I was feeling bad about that because I didn't much like The Evil Dead 2.
wow.
Which is an issue. It's funny. I was watching it and I was keeping Kev's advice in mind, just to sort of let it sort of like wash over you and don't think about it too much and stuff like that. But I don't know. I just found it really tiring. I found it sort of like I don't know, the plotlessness of it and the characterlessness of it just didn't. It's funny because it made me question, like it made me sort of like give a sort of essayistic idea about why I like to read stories and watch films and stuff like that. And I think I go to stories for characters and plot, and spectacle comes last. And I think Evil Dead 2 just embraces horror spectacle like to the max. And I know that's there's an audience for that, obviously, and that's fine, but it's not really my thing. Whereas with Army of Darkness, I think it's definitely my favorite Evil Dead movie that I've seen. Mainly because there's a plot, and there's character development, and it's sort of and it really reminded me. I mean, clearly Sam Raimi looked at things like Monty Python and the Holy Grail and all these things, and as well as certain fantasy movies that were made in the 80s, and sort of like took off from that. And I really like fantasy anyway, so it kind of worked in that structure where he's taken as a slave and he's taken to this castle and he's about to be thrown into a pit. I mean, quite sort of like what is it? Sorry, I completely forgotten the sixth Star Wars Episode 6.
Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi. Yeah, sorry, completely slipped my mind.
The pit. Yeah, it's very
so a bit like the Sarlacc pit in Return of the Jedi, that kind of atmosphere. And I really I kind of got to like Ash a bit more. I think mainly because I saw like a bit of his background, even though it's so ridiculous. He's working at a supermarket. I kind of liked having that snapshot of who he was and then what he now is, and that sort of got me closer to him. It is an absolutely ridiculous movie, but I actually enjoyed that. It's strange because I mean I didn't really get a lot of the comedy from Evil Dead 2. I just didn't. I suppose I just didn't find it that funny, and I didn't understand why I wasn't finding it funny. But with this, I found a lot of it very funny. I mean, when he comes into the medieval castle with a fucking shotgun and say, "This is my boomstick," it's great. It's brilliant.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, and I really enjoy. Yeah, and then it goes into more like surreal aspects, and it goes into sort of like Jason in the Argonauts territory, sort of Ray Harryhausen skeletons and stuff like that. Enjoyed all that. And
is that the same people? Was it?
I don't think Ray Harryhausen was involved, but I think it's certainly
inspired. It's definitely inspired by it, and
definitely. And I like the sort of like the sort of anti-Ash that's like the enemy, who eventually becomes the enemy. I like that aspect of it, and I really liked the sort of battle scene of the third act. But it was funny because I think I'm 90% sure that Peter Jackson looked at that battle scene and used
I
it
thought
for the Helm's Deep sequence in Two Towers, because you can just see little similarities. And I know Peter Jackson was definitely a fan of Sam Raimi because of, I mean, for those that don't know, Jackson started off in sort of low budget, sloshy horror movies.
Did one of the best horrors. What's it called? Brain Dead?
Yeah, Brain Dead or Dead Alive,
Brain
you know.
Dead Alive or
Which-
Brain Dead.
He wasn't part of the Jackson 5, though, was he?
No,
No, he wasn't.
That would be a very surreal twist.
I didn't know. He was
No, Peter Jackson. So
Tito and
no, none of those.
Peter Jackson in the Jackson 5.
Yeah, that would be a
I don't
surprise.
know because they're a big family, aren't they? So
Yeah, I mean,
No?
Peter Jackson's a white guy from New Zealand, so
Oh,
I don't think,
yeah.
so I don't think he's connected to them in any way. But you could definitely see those connections, and you can see that. I mean, Peter Jackson's definitely a fan of Sam Raimi, so it's sort of so I kind of like. But I kept on. It's funny. I kept on feeling emotional in those scenes, but only because I was remembering back to Two Towers,
Yeah,
and there was
Lord of the
also like I was thinking of like the Battle of Pelennor Fields where Theoden like called their reinforcements, because like reinforcements also come in this film as well, so it's kind of it's a kind of mirror image there. And I mean, by the end of it, I was like, oh, I should really watch Lord of the Rings for the 1000th time. But no, I quite enjoyed it. Again, I'm not into it as much as a lot of other people are. Like the whole Evil Dead thing, I think it's partly because of Sam Raimi. I've liked Sam Raimi films in the past, like, you know, I've enjoyed the Spider-Man trilogy and stuff like that. But I think he really likes it when, like, he's not sort of bound by anything other than blood and like screaming and just
he loves screaming. He loves screaming.
But I think he loves it when there's no plot and no character. I mean, you can see that in Drag Me to Hell, and you can see that in Doctor Strange 2.
I knew that was coming. I was waiting.
Because let's face it, the best bits of Doctor Strange 2 are the spectacly bits, are the bits where it's more exposed. All the stuff to do with plot and character development are I think are all shit.
Although I think you said this last time really quickly on that. I do think that there are moments in that film where you can tell he has fun with it, which obviously would be a spoiler to say here, but I think there are moments. But yeah, no, I agree completely. He's very much more about spectacle. He wants it to be with like camera angles where the camera's spinning and you're just like, what the fuck's going on? Which I love, obviously, but I think that's because obviously with the, like you say, with the horror stuff, I think it works very well for these films.
Yeah. And you know, his again ridiculous romance with that woman who just suddenly falls into his arms after my Evil Dead now.
Baby.
It's sort of like just immediate. I mean, I found that funny because I think it's, you know, it's deliberate, and just that again stupid sex scene like under like firelight, just sort of like just it was really funny. And then there's the bit where she like turns ugly because she turns evil, and you found me beautiful once. Lady, you got real ugly, you know. It's great. It's great lines, just brilliant. But again, the Evil Dead phenomenon doesn't really excite me. I mean, I'd be curious to see like what the original ending was, because I think I kind of liked the alternate version, which I think Sam Raimi, I mean, naturally because it's the director's cut, but I think he prefers the ending that he had in mind. But yeah, so I enjoyed this one the most. I think it had the most. I think budget has a lot to do with it. It was interesting seeing that this was the only Evil Dead in the trilogy that started off with the MGM title cards at the start, and that was really bizarre for me. It was like, oh my god, this is like he's got the money now. He's got the money and the credence.
I think that was part of the Darkman deal, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, I think he made Darkman between Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness.
I think he had the money, like he had some kind of deal going on, which we did review once before that film actually.
And,
it's a great
but no,
film.
yeah. So I mean, I have nothing against it. I quite enjoyed it. I don't feel slighted that I had to buy it. I think I had a fun time. Whether I'd be very keen to revisit it is up for debate, but I enjoyed it. It was fun and schlocky and enjoyable.
Well,
and
I'm glad we all watched it. It's one of my favourites. I'm really pleased that my 13-year-old boy has watched it and enjoyed it, and I can't wait to show him more. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think there's certain things I want to leave a little bit longer, but he's seen Poltergeist and films like that, and it's a great introduction to what I think's the best genre of film, personally. But I don't know, Jess. So we get to scoring this, or do you want to chat a bit about it, Larry? It's up to you.
I just like it.
I know you're like me. I'm sure you've watched it times.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
And
like, it's
Ash,
great.
to me, I'd love to meet him one day. It's got to be some horror con we can go to, all of us, and he's going to be there.
I feel like the only thing I'd add is just, for me, I like it as a trilogy, because I think, as you were saying, like, Ash really kind of comes into his own throughout these films, and I think by the third one, the ending that you haven't seen, where he sleeps too long. The ending that you have seen, where he sleeps too long. I was very surprised they didn't go with that ending and then make a fourth one where he fights the Deadites, I think they're called, in the post-apocalyptic London, which I think is a kind of a cool little premise to kind of expand it. But I guess, I don't know, I feel as though it was kind of a bookend with the ending that it is the official ending. Is kind of like, oh, we'll leave it here. And then obviously they did Ash versus Evil Dead, which kind of continues that. Yeah, it fits definitely with the ending that's out. But yeah,
you guys should watch that, because there's probably 30 episodes, maybe more.
There's 3 seasons, and then it didn't.
There's some of the.
And is there any character development and plot in any of those 30 episodes?
There are some very good characters.
They have Ash as obviously your main, and then you've got 2 supportings, which in the first season I will agree that they kind of do just feel like they're there, but through season 2 and season 3, I think that they expand upon that, and it does work.
Lucy Lawless is in it as well, isn't she? I think as the kind of bad character.
She comes into it like season 2, and then season 3.
Well worth a watch. It's very, very funny, and it takes you on a journey.
A lot of Ash. It's like Ash in the third one, but in present day.
Yeah, it's just still getting worse. So what would you score this, Jess?
Something happened.
Well, there was this film and something happened, and
I'll give it a 6.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ewan.
So it's probably a 7 from me. I enjoyed it substantially more than the others, as I've said, because I feel like it's got more to it, and I feel like he's able to do more with the budget that he has, and I found it quite funny, unlike the other ones. So yeah, 7 for me.
Larry?
It's an 8 from me.
Oh,
I think it's great. I know that number 2 is.
That's normally you throwing out boners all over the place. Not tonight, though.
if it's films, if it's like old classic horror films, usually because that was a big inspiration of wanting to do film in general. But the third one is personally my least favorite, but I still think it's great. Like it's the one that I'd go to last. But obviously it's the end of the trilogy. So I usually, whenever I'm watching them, we'll just go 1, 2, 3.
I'm gonna give it a 9. It's not quite Evil Dead 2, I think, but it is a lot of fun. It's a family film, you know? I think it's a family film. I could watch this with any of my kids. I've got no issues. With a little bit of blood splatter and things, but it's a lot of fun, and you can't take it too seriously. So, yeah, I'm giving it a 9. Wow. So we've done all 4 recently. It's not turned out too bad. Now, has anyone watched Dan's Hot Pick?
I watched it a while ago, I think. I mentioned it on the podcast.
I haven't.
This film's amazing. Anyway, let's move on to Dan's Hot Pick.
Jeberskier, Horngeerskier, Bort, Bort, Bort.
But indeed. So
every time I see the shoulders just move, and it's like, yep.
I go the wrong way.
Yeah, no, so did I, as before, just went this way, and I was like, shit.
So at some point we did the Wormwood film, which I bought on Blu-ray, which I had a lot of fun with, and it was amazing. And this is where we get technical on a podcast as well. And so we had Wormwood Apocalypse. Okay. How do I explain this film?
Stuff happens.
Reese lives in the zombie-infested wasteland. His job is to capture civilians and deliver them to what's left of the military. And that's exactly what he does. So the military are doing experiments on these zombies who have the power to operate machinery. The gases that come out of their mouths has the power to operate cars or guns or whatever. Anyway, it's like a fuel. So this guy's delivering these, zombies. And it's Australian, isn't it? It's an Australian film. The main actress, actually, I want to talk about this, actually liked us on Twitter, which was quite nice.
Oh.
One of the comments I put up. So the main actress, that right now. You can't see that at home, but she's like from the first film, she got turned, but she can actually speak to all the other zombies through mind power. So I think it's her. So some of her family get pulled or something, and they're doing experiments on them. I'm not sure kind of why they're doing experiments. Oh no, what they're doing. Do I give this away, Larry? Do I give this away? Why they're doing? No, I'm not going to do that.
Well,
Actually,
I mean,
why they're doing the experiments?
You could do. I just say spoilers before, just in case. If you want to watch it,
big spoiler, right? You got to turn this off now.
But then come back
because like even Dan's throwing 9 boners at this. He's loving it. He's all over this. Solid 9 boners. Basically, there's a pill that stops people from turning fully. So they take this pill every day, and it stops them turning. But I think the pill is actually made up of ground up zombies. Is that right? Am I right in saying that, Larry? Pretty much.
Yes.
Have I got that wrong?
Yeah.
So
I'd say pretty on the money.
Yeah. So they get burnt or ground up and turned into pills that people can take, and that keeps them from completely turning into zombies. And Dan likes. What's his name? We like her. She can use her mind control on me. She's great. So it's a great movie. I bought it on Blu-ray. It's one I'm going to revisit. It's a lot of fun. It's ridiculous. I don't know what else to say.
It's a film that knows what it is and does it to the extreme and has fun with it. So if you're just like in the mood for a very fun zombie Australian horror with elements of comedy, and the practical effects in it are great. Really good, really, really good. So I would recommend it. But that's again, I think with the first one and the second one. Obviously, I know that the second one, I actually don't know when it got released. There was a while where I thought it was released and it wasn't. But I would recommend if anyone hasn't seen it, watch 1 and 2 back to back because it's just like one of those kind of extreme zombie things that if you're in the mood for it, just sit down and you can just blast through it. It's great, good fun.
It's so much fun.
Kind of like Dead Snow was.
Yeah. Dead Snow 2's on, I think, Shudder at the moment. I think. It's like Jess. If your car breaks down and they've got like a gas mask or an oxygen mask that goes over the zombie's face, and the green fumes that come out of the zombie, they're running their cars off. So basically, they just pull up and throw that one out and try and hunt down another zombie, capture it, put a mask on it, strap it up. There you go.
It's a good alternative to petrol.
I thought you were going to
cheaper
suggest
than £1.87 a litre or whatever it is at the moment.
The way you started that, I thought you were going to recommend that, like, oh, if your car ever breaks down, just grab
Grab a
somebody
zombie.
off the-
Grab
a zombie off
someone,
the street.
grab someone from Portsmouth, stick a mask on them, off you go. Beautiful.
I thought you were going to say Portswood, Ben. I was like,
No,
evil
not
one.
Portswood. No, no.
Evil
So
one.
sorry to our Portsmouth listeners. No, I'm
Not
not
sorry.
actually. So that was that. That was that. So yeah, I'm gonna give it 8. I know Dan's he's all over that, isn't he? So yeah. So I'd give it an 8. What do you think, Larry?
Yeah, I think I'd give it. I think I gave the last one a 7 or an 8, so I think I'd go the same. I think that they're both good. I don't think that they're like massive spectacles of story and character, but they're good fun and they are very enjoyable, and you can tell a lot of care has gone into it from the people who have made it. Be interested to see if they make a third one, because it kind of looks that way.
Yeah. So like, hopefully they will, and I'm pretty sure they will do. I don't know how well it's done at in Australia. I would have thought it's done pretty well. All right. It's about that time to go to what we watched this week, which is a lot.
What have you been watching?
No, seriously, what have you been watching?
What have you been watching? Right. Oh god, this is a lot of fun tonight. Right. So I've watched a lot. Shall we start with the first thing? Jess, shall we hit Tammy and the T-Rex? Because we're going to be on a Jurassic kind of
Look at that.
theme in a minute, aren't we?
I swear.
Um,
How old it is.
So Tammy and the T-Rex. Right, this is amazing.
Oh my god, that's her from
Denise
Starship.
Richards.
That's her from Starship Troopers.
Yeah.
Is
I
that
was
is that
gonna
Paul?
say,
Is
why
that
do
Paul
I
Walker?
recognise it?
Yeah. An evil scientist implants the brain of Michael, a murdered high school student, into a Tyrannosaurus. He escapes, wreaks vengeance on his high school, which isn't completely true. What I said there. That's not completely true. What I just said, because I got that from IMBD. What I just said. So it's like a robotic Tyrannosaurus. Okay, so the body moves and this some kind of scientist decides that we can operate it manually, or we could put a real human's brain in a little kind of jar and put some electrodes in it and to run the Tyrannosaurus with that.
What am I watching?
So this film, I bought it. I think it was on 101. So I bought it on Blu-ray a while ago because Jason Brandt from The Final Guy said, "This is great. You should go and watch it." And I totally agree because it is so much fun to watch. You need to watch this, guys. Don't sit there. Look at him. She's stroking that dinosaur. There's so many jokes in this. It's so much fun. You need to watch it.
Its legs haven't moved.
yeah, you're right. It's just
It's absolutely ridiculous. There's a fight scene in it as well where both of them are grabbing each other's balls, and it's very funny. Yeah, I really like this, and I don't know why I didn't watch it because I bought it about a year ago.
She's riding it.
Yeah, she's riding the T-Rex.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
I watched this again with my 13-year-old, and he totally enjoyed this. So I enjoyed it. Tammy and the T-Rex, Larry. I'm surprised you haven't seen it.
It's just, I feel like I need to now.
Dude, it's so much fun. It was on the So Bad It's Good list, I think. Yeah, it's a pretty crazy film that needs a visit. I own it on Blu-ray, believe it or not. I've got the special edition with a little book in it and all sorts. So a lot of fun. Get on it. So I'll let you go next, Larry. He looks like he's frozen.
Oh.
He's very frozen.
He's very frozen.
Or he's playing who can be a frozen game. He's gone. So we might well move
no,
on.
there he is.
On.
There he is.
Oh,
He's
back in the room. So Larry, You were frozen for a
Hi.
few seconds there.
Yeah, no, I know. My whole screen just kind of went black. I was like, "Oh, bye, guys," and then it just came back.
So, Larry, we'll go round one at a time, I think,
Yeah.
because I need to. We've only got
Speed run.
another 20 minutes, really. But so, what have you been watching, Larry, on the dinosaur theme? Anything?
Not on a dinosaur theme, but on a kind of similar theme, I guess. I recently watched Stranger Things season 4.
Seen season 3.
It was amazing. I was actually very taken back with how good this season was. Because I think after 3, for me, I was like, okay, this trailer that's showing now, before this trailer aired, I was thinking like, well, they've done quite a lot, and I don't really know what they can do. And just really, really good. I can't really say too much about it if people haven't seen it, because it's it does kind of jump straight in. But yeah, it very much has elements of like Scooby-Doo. With like I don't think this is a spoiler to say, but the gang are kind of like all in different areas. They're kind of all split up with different stories. And I don't know, I found that it was awesome that each story, there was never a story that it would jump back to where I'd say, I'm bored of this one. Each one held itself. And yeah, where I'm waiting now for the last 2 episodes on July 1st, volume 2.
July 1st. I mean, I sorry to sort of jump it.
No. I feel like, because I know you're big, that you liked it as well.
I love this season so much, and I've been annoyed by so many people who don't like it. I know that's because people have different opinions, and I understand that. But I fell in love so much with this season, and just the ambition of it, just the epic scale of where they go. Because as the first teaser trailer said, it's like, we're not in Hawkins anymore. They're literally in California, they're in Hawkins, they're in Utah, they're in Alaska, they're in Siberia. It's just sort of everywhere. And it's kind of like sort of for me, it's like, if we're going to put it in sort of Harry Potter book terms, it's like this is the 4th one. The others were sort of average length, like fantasy books, whereas Goblet of Fire was the first time it goes like epic. And this is I think this is sort of Stranger Things going like truly bigger than it's ever gone before, which I think is kind of a relief, because even though I still really like Stranger Things 3, it was significantly worse than the other 2, I think. Whereas this is a return to form. Lots of people are saying that it's all ambition and no fun, and I think that's total nonsense. Because I think I had so much fun, and I was so invested in the characters. Obviously, I won't say anything, but I mean, episode 4 is just a televisual masterpiece.
Yeah, it was fantastic, and I think as well. I think as well. It just had. I don't really. Again, it's hard to, as you just said, it's hard to speak about it without spoiling. But I mean, I have a few theories which we'll have to all speak about, because there's some interesting things that they've kind of like set up in this season, which I feel like, because they've said, haven't they? They said they're doing volume 2, and then it's season 5 as the end one. Yeah. So yeah, it's fantastic. It was great.
But it's interesting because I can see again, sort of addressing some of critics who've gone against it. There are imperfections, like for example, and I'm going to admit it, the character of Jonathan. I feel like they're not entirely sure what to do with him at the moment, and they've added another character attached to him to sort of give us a comic relief and everything. And maybe the episodes could have been shorter. There have been numerous controversies about them being too long, which again I kind of disagree with, because I love every minute of what they're giving me. And I suppose some storylines are stretched a bit too much, but I really don't care about any of that. I was just watching it and just I could kind of like how you, Kev, were talking about how you just sort of take in the Evil Dead. I was just completely into it.
I think
And
you
there was
have to sometimes.
yeah, and there was
Well,
points when I was just screaming. I was
Yeah.
just sort of like just so again, I think because like built up over 3 seasons, you build. I'm not sure if I've ever loved characters this much in a series, and I think the last time I was so blown away by the epic scale of a TV series was Game of Thrones, and I think. And interestingly, Stranger Things is a bit more grounded in some ways because obviously it's set in the real world. But I think it's like you just sort of go with it, and I think yeah, I was blown away by this season.
My favorite character by far is Eddie.
Yeah.
Eddie, the D&D master was just.
Yeah.
I didn't realize as well he's British. What
Oh, is he?
like an amazing American accent, but also like I loved his character and I loved the story that they've done with him because I thought he was just going to be a new character that they kind of just go like, oh look, it's a new kind of character. But I loved his interactions with Steve, with the rest of the group. But yeah, no, solid. And I'll just say my last two because I'll speed run it. Obi-Wan, watch the recent one. Great, like what they're doing. Keep it up. I do agree that the recent episode kind of went a bit like this for me, and I was like, all right, but with 2 episodes left, I'm hoping they'll just smash that. And then I watched the first episode of Miss Marvel. I've seen a lot of hate towards it.
Oh no, I really like Miss Marvel. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, the same. I thought it actually. I know that there are. I mean, people. I've seen some people go, "Oh, it's nothing like the comic," and it's like, all right, just none of these films are identical. Thor in the comics is so different to Thor.
Is that the Agatha Christie books?
No, that's Miss Marple.
Yeah,
oh right, I thought
Miss
that's what you were
Marvel.
talking about. I thought, wow, Larry's like, you know what I mean?
I just casually watched Miss Marple on Disney Plus. Fits into the Marvel universe. But no, it was good. I've seen some people though come out like as you do, and you see them say like, oh, it's shit, and this young actress is shit, and it's like, well, I completely disagree. I actually think that it's not meant to be. It's meant to be a new, era for, I guess, because they've set up in a lot of these Marvel films now. They've set up like the younger lot, and I guess they'll do the Young Avengers, which is a very, very big comic, or the West Coast Avengers. But
Miss Marple's not in it at all.
No, she might be in an end credit scene with the Infinity Gauntlet.
It's a crossover episode.
It's the Infinity Gauntlet on their hands.
Yeah, amazing.
But no, really good. And that's all I've watched.
Okay, you in? I've got loads to talk about, but like, I'm conscious of time.
Yeah, I'll try and speed through. So last night I went to see All My Friends Hate Me.
Okay.
Which is a new British film, filmed in Devon, actually, so towards your guys' neck of the woods. I really enjoyed this film. Well, when I say I really enjoyed it, I was really, really into it. So, by a lot of people's standards, this wouldn't count as a horror movie because it's very sort of it's very comedic. It's about a 31-year-old who's having a birthday weekend at this country mansion or this country house. And is with his uni friends, and he's sort of realizing that he's kind of sort of personality wise, he's sort of grown apart from them, and he's become a slightly different person towards compared to what he was at university. And he's realized that all his university mates are so sort of immature and kind of difficult to deal with, and they're all really, really posh. But I really loved because the central guy has social anxiety, and I think I just really related to that guy because he was just he was being blamed for everything that was going wrong with his birthday weekend, and he starts getting really paranoid about a guy who his friends pick up a guy from a pub called I think it's Harry, and Pete, who's the main guy, is convinced that Harry is like out to get him for some reason. And this paranoia like sort of circulates in this sort of really sort of constricted setting, and he keeps on thinking everyone's against him. And I think that just sort of build up of anxiety, it was so sort of relatable. I was literally sitting in the cinema making noises. Now I never want to like make any sort of sound when I'm at the cinema at all. But this film like brought it out of me to the point where my hands were through my hair like constantly. And I think I would consider this a horror movie. A lot of people wouldn't, because I think a lot of people probably wouldn't relate to it as much. A lot of critics have said that the ending is anticlimactic, which I suppose it kind of is, but I think it's very much the point of the film to be like that. But I would really recommend it, and I think it's my favorite film of the year, just because of like how sort of like tense it made me, and just kind of just watching it was like it felt like an anxiety attack in some ways. It was, yeah, I really enjoyed it. I also watched Jurassic World Dominion, which is the latest and last of the Jurassic World
Is it
trilogy.
out yet?
It's out today, so out
Right.
Friday.
Okay.
I would say I watched the first two over the weekend. I was very dispirited because I thought they were really, really bad. I think Larry likes them, but I think
I liked them. I saw them at cinema. I thought they were
Yeah,
entertaining for what they are.
no, I just found them very sort of Disneyfied, very over, lots of CGI, and just
Jurassic World.
I'm just saying, Lawrence, that I hated the first two Jurassic World movies.
Yeah,
but
no. Sorry, you've probably just said this,
Mm.
but what did you actually think of the second one? Because I think we spoke about it on a podcast before, and I said there's that twist with the whole spoiler
Yeah.
stuff, but it's not a spoiler.
I-
With the
yeah.
cloning,
yeah, the clone.
it's just
It made me
fucking.
laugh.
It
made me
does.
laugh.
It's just so stupid.
Yeah, I
Like-
mean, I was the second one. I actually preferred the second one to the first one, because I think it was so ludicrous that I just ended up enjoying it because it was just so stupid.
That's more
whereas the
gothic horror as well. I think. I think the second Fallen Kingdom. It's not a great story, but it does have quite good horror aspects, which remind me of the first couple.
Yeah, although I mean, so many bits made me laugh. Like, I mean, in Fallen Kingdom, there's a bit where they're like leaving Isla Nubauer, and they're seeing a brontosaurus like through the smoke of the volcano, and you're just like, what the fuck is this? What is going on? But Dominion, a lot of people are saying that it's the worst of the lot. But I enjoyed it for what it was. I think the reason I did was because they were sort of like copying loads of other better movies, and I think they sort of like benefited from that. So you could see lots of Mission Impossible. For some reason, they go to Malta at one point, and as you can see in the trailer, Chris Pratt is just riding a motorbike through the streets. And actually, the action set pieces are really, really good. And again, I think they've copied from Mission Impossible. I think in particular they copied a character. There's the blonde villain character, I think, who's introduced in the fifth Mission Impossible and like comes back in the sixth or something. She's played by the woman who played Princess Margaret.
Oh yeah, the British lady.
Yeah. Who I mean, they pretty much copy and pasted into this, which again, I was like, okay, but I'm having fun with it. It's quite kind of fun, and I did enjoy, as you can see, Sam Neill, Jeff Goldblum, and Laura Dern coming back. I thought it was much. I thought they did it very, because these guys are proper. I don't want to dismiss Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard, but as far as I'm concerned, Sam Neill, Jeff Goldblum, Laura Dern are proper actors, in the sense that they're very seasoned. Like, for example, I mean, Jeff Goldblum's worked with David Cronenberg, Laura Dern's worked with David Lynch, Sam Neill's worked with Jane Campion. Proper auteur directors. They know what they're doing, and they somehow managed to recapture the characters they haven't played in Sam Neill played it like nearly 20 years ago, but Laura Dern hasn't played it for since the 90s. Since Jurassic 3. He was in Jurassic Park 3. But regardless, it's sort of I like seeing them again, and I thought they had decent chemistry with each other. There was a bit, I mean, I don't think this is a spoiler, when they essentially meet each other. So the three of them meet Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard, who are the new sort of protagonists in this trilogy. And there's it's like a really awkward bit where they're almost like comparing the characters. You know, like that. It reminded me strongly of the fourth Indiana Jones movie when Shia LaBeouf briefly picks up Indy's hat and almost takes it, and then Indy immediately picks it away from him. It was a bit like that, where it was like, oh yeah, well, Chris Pratt is basically the Sam Neill of this generation, and I'm just like, nope,
No,
absolutely not. As much as I
No.
like, and it's funny, it's really weird to me that Chris Pratt, seeing what he can do in Guardians of the Galaxy and Parks and Recreation, it's weird that he's strangely subdued here, as if he's like a 2D action figure that is just like, okay, this is what you do, and this is this, and there's no sort of, I mean, there's a little bit of charisma, but it's nowhere near the potential that we can see him do.
Here's a question: with this film, do they? Because I know there was that shot in the trailer where someone gets like yeeted off of a Segway, like eaten.
Oh yeah.
Is there a lot of that in this one? Because I noticed with the Jurassic Worlds, they kind of shy away from that.
Yeah,
a
well,
lot.
this is the thing. Again, this is kind of why I liked it more than the other two, because I thought the other two were just, again, as you say, abstaining from the actual violence and therefore the fear factor. And I think this one,
more?
yeah, definitely. And they
Okay.
actually introduce raptors that are not Disneyfied and cuddly, which again, I kind of annoyed me with the others, because with those who don't know, Chris Pratt raises a raptor called Blue, who's a bit savage at times, but he's overall quite a softie velociraptor. And there was some here which were sort of because for those who don't know, Dominion dinosaurs rule the earth. Basically, they've been released, and people have to fight them off and learn how to adapt. But the problem is that I'm the biology really doesn't, or the sort of evolutionary theory that they're trying to work with just doesn't work, because these dinosaurs have been genetically modified to adjust to their environment on Isla Nublar, not anywhere else. So either they die off or they just kill everyone, and it would just and they try and make it work, and it just doesn't. But I did still enjoy it. It's so stupid. And as I say, there's a bit of Mission Impossible, there's a bit of Indiana Jones in there. And strangely, there's like a shot that was like really sort of Nomadlandish. I think they were trying to sort of get a sort of Magic Hour indie vibe at one point. But it's enjoyable. That it's very much a spectacle. I enjoyed seeing Sam Neill and Laura Dern and Jeff Goldblum together, especially after like Jeff Goldblum it does appear in Fallen Kingdom, but very briefly and very much not to the full charisma that he's capable of. Whereas here, apparently, he improvised a lot of his own lines in this, and I think it benefits the script. And I really enjoyed it. Again, lots of people hated this movie, but I think if you're doing nothing on a Saturday afternoon and you want something that's entertaining and you're not going to take too seriously, I'd recommend it. It's fine. It's fine. Also, I might as well be my last one. I watched I think last week I watched Men, which is the new Alice Garland. Yeah. The new Alice Garland.
What clubs are you going to?
It's funny. I tweeted out after I saw the film. I just tweeted out simply, "I love men."
Nice.
But yeah, I interestingly, that this film has been far more divisive than I expected it to be. Lots of 1 stars, lots of 3 stars, and a few 5 stars. For my money, I thought it was really, really good. And maybe one of my favorite films of the year is sort of it's basically following Jessie Buckley's character, who's suffered a trauma, and she escapes London by going to a sort of rural village in Hertfordshire. And therein, she sees that every man around her has the same face of Rory Kinnear, who's, again, a very underrated actor. He mainly works in TV, but he's
James Bond, isn't he? He's in all the
he's in
James Bond.
Yeah, James Bond. He was also in the Brexit movie. He was in the Russell T Davies series years and years. So he's a prolific actor, but I think a very underrated one. And here he plays like several characters all at once, because he's playing the same men. And the kind of premise, I guess, is that she sees all men in the same way, and that sort of harks back to the trauma that she suffered. Lots of critics saying that a lot of the messages that Alex Garland is trying to put forth are very, very obvious and transparent. The sort of allegory that he's trying to sort of like sort of like a lot of men are cut from the same cloth, and so they say a lot of the same things. A lot of it are negative against women. And a lot of critics are saying, yeah, well, we know that, especially women critics are like, well, we know that that's like our everyday experience. It's not. So it's almost like a mansplaining sort of like certain things that women have to go through. However, I think for people who aren't aware of these issues, I'm thinking especially of men who especially men who have sort of like the Me Too movement hasn't they haven't seen anything from them. I think this is actually a very good movie to watch, because I think especially with the sort of there's like heavy metaphor, and it gets to a point where Alex Garland is a very patient filmmaker, and you rarely see horror movies that are gradual and that build. I mean, it's only an hour 40, this film, but he sort of takes the time to sort of follow her through like natural forests and eventually, and then you get like slapped hard in a sort of final act that is proper sort of Cronenbergian body horror situation. So I think it's a really interesting movie. I kind of understand why a lot of people have taken against it. Like, I've seen a lot of the 1-star reviews, and I'm just like, yeah, I can't agree with that, but I still really love it, if you know what I mean.
Is it
it's
horror?
Sort of, it's horror.
It's
A24.
it's A24.
Yeah.
It's the company of your favorite film, Kev, The Lighthouse. You'll love it.
Yeah.
Sounds
But
amazing.
also Jessie Buckley is just, I mean, she's always amazing in what she does. And I think she gives such a phenomenal performance in this. And again, it's a very small movie. Alex Garland, like, in general, takes like from very mainstream genres and does something very little with them, and I think that's good. Sometimes the script is a bit overwritten. Like, I think her character is just slightly underwritten, but overall, I think it really works. And I think it's a really good film. Lastly, just a little bit. I mean, Obi-Wan Kenobi. I've had mixed feelings about throughout the whole thing, really, because I mean, Dan raises a good point. The chase sequence in the first episode was dog shit, mainly because I just think that the guards in charge of trying to get Leia were just rubbish, and I think that's almost like it's very prequel trilogy, if you know what I mean. It's very sort of.
Do you not think that they're like, because again, Dan's brought up a good point, like with the whole like laser fence and turn it off when they could go around it. I feel like they're trying to, because obviously for people who have not seen Star Wars, I mean, Jesus, heavy spoilers here. Sorry,
No,
but like,
right.
but so that's like the warning. But like, yeah, I feel like they're hinting towards Leia's, shall we say, abilities. And I feel as though there's been a few times where she subtly is doing like eye movements and stuff where I'm like, oh, well, we know as the audience from the original trilogy where that goes. But I do agree with that whole fence thing. That made me and my dad laugh, because we would just like go around and they like shoot the thing, and it's like the laser turns. It's like, go, Leia. It's like, just go around.
But it's a weird feeling as well, because I mean, as I'm sure all us were to some extent, I was brought up on the prequels. And I watched them over and over again when I was a kid, and I really loved them. So watching this, I'm sort of mixed about it, because I'm still invested in the story between Obi-Wan and Anakin Skywalker, but I know the shitty part. Like there's so many bits where it was like directed and written like very sort of substandard, and it's weird when you sort of compare it to something like The Mandalorian that is written like quite well. And it's weird to see sort of Ewan McGregor, because I think obviously Ewan McGregor is very, very good, but I think Obi-Wan Kenobi is one of his like least. I mean, it's a good role to have, but in terms of like actually performing it, because of like all the outside forces and George Lucas not being an amazing director, I think his performance kind of suffered from that. And I think it's a weirdly similar case here. Again, I'd watch Ewan McGregor in anything, but I think. I don't know. There's just some things in the script that I'm just like, I don't know. That's sort of a bit over the top. Again, sort of harping back to the prequel trilogy in some ways.
I've noticed he's changed his accent a little bit as well to sound
Yeah,
more like
yeah.
Alex Guinness. Is
Alec,
that-
Alec Guinness.
Alec
Guinness. Yeah,
Guinness,
yeah.
sorry.
I remember you saying that on the last podcast.
Yeah, he's it just sounds. I get because obviously the gap now is shortening between New Hope and
yeah.
where this is
But
at,
that's
but it
also-
does sound
that-
a bit.
But that's also what I don't understand. In that, I remember in A New Hope when Obi-Wan and Darth Vader meet each other, and Darth Vader says, "When we last met,
I was
but the pupil, and now I am the master." But doesn't this whole series negate that?
It's something me and Dad have talked about as well. We were just kind of like, I guess I don't know whether or not they're going to end it with something where like Obi-Wan's going to say something like, "You're just but the learner and I'm the master," and then
True.
it will harken back. But yeah, I agree with you. I feel like there's not too much they can do.
No.
Because it would destroy what's come before and what's going to happen. So they have to tread that very thin line of,
Yeah.
you know.
But again, this is the interesting thing, is that I'm still addicted to this series, even though I can see all of its flaws. I'm waiting for the next episode to come out, and I really want to see it because from the childhood, I'm invested in this character and all these people. I'm sort of slightly like in two minds about Princess Leia, to be honest. Not in terms of the character, but in terms of the actor playing her.
But that's another thing. Sorry, really quickly. That's another thing you've brought up. Sorry, but like that's another thing. Like when I'm hoping so, Dan. I'm hoping that we get a Miss Marple series, tie it into Star Wars and Marvel. You know, the interconnection.
I think it'd be amazing
Disney.
to tie it into Marvel.
But no, I actually agree with you. Like another thing that stands out is that I always remember from A New Hope, Leia doing the infamous message on R2D2, "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope." And she says, like, "I believe you fought in the Clone Wars with my father." And it's like, Leia, you're with this, matey. Like, it's like, what's going on, Leia? You forget.
I watched it at the cinema first time round. That's how old I am.
But
I
that must
can
have been
remember
amazing,
being
though.
very-
That must
I
have
was
been
only about
amazing.
4.
Was it
I was
just
thinking
called
say
Star
30.
Wars? It was just called
No,
Star
I
Wars.
wasn't
though,
30
wasn't
yet. I'm not that bloody old. I'll be about 100 now. Won't I? But yeah, I remember bits of that film, but certainly Empire Strikes Back. I
Yeah,
remember
that's
a
my
lot.
favorite. Actually, it's right here. I'll show you guys. Sorry for
okay.
visual
Yeah, no
listeners.
worries.
Nice.
The
So he's
very
Harold-
original movie script for The Empire
Wow.
Strikes Back.
I mean,
Wow.
that would be on the list of like movies that I would have loved to have been in the cinema when it came out.
Yeah,
To
that would have
see.
been amazing.
Yeah, but you'd be my age now, so it's,
That's true. That's true. That is
yeah,
depressing.
You don't want to be that old. Jess, have you got anything to say? Because I've got a couple of things to talk about. Because we're
Sorry,
Uh,
Jess.
yeah,
we're now at
quickly,
9 hours 12 minutes.
Yep. No, I watched obviously Stranger Things, and it was incredible. There's some things that we haven't seen yet, but we're in the trailer that I'm really excited for.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely amazing. Miss Marvel, I really liked it. It gave me some like into the multiverse kind of vibes.
I said
Spider-Verse.
Miss
Sorry,
Marvel.
Spider-Verse.
Yeah,
Miss
Miss
Marvel.
Yeah.
Marvel.
Okay.
Yes. Not Marvel.
Don't want any confusion on this podcast.
Really good. Really liked it. And then I also watched Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. Kind of did what you said, Larry. Went in with like kind of no expectations.
Yeah.
Always good.
I think if you go in thinking that you're gonna get the whole multiverse like Spider-Man vibes, you're gonna be disappointed. It's not got a million cameos and things in it, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was alright.
See what I mean? Though?
Get round.
Do you see what I mean? Though, like if you go in thinking that it's going to be like 1,000 characters on the screen, you're gonna be so disappointed. But I feel like if you go into it and just accept like I see you in space. So.
In the trailer, you kind of see everyone that's going to appear in it anyway, so it's not really like a big, there's not really any additional people that show up. But yeah, that was really good. And Obi-Wan is also on my list to watch for next
I'm
week,
going to
so-
wait till the whole lot's out, then I'll get it for a month and binge it. So,
Yeah.
Right. Before we go on to the last film, I just talk about. I did stick some on YouTube, and Dan's watched it. I only watched one thing, and that was a Dead by Daylight gameplay with Kev shouting for 1 hour. Where are you guys? Where are you? So that isn't entirely true, Dan. Now, Dead by Daylight, I think hopefully he's watched episode 2, which was actually my Alex, my middle son. He was on there with me, and it was quite funny. And it's great when you got a killer who doesn't want to kill you. You know, it's so me being me. There's just plenty of what's the word? Oh God,
Confusion.
There is a bit of confusion.
I loved episode 1 where you went on, and then it was just like the very one.
Have you seen the second one?
I
So
haven't.
The second
yet.
one,
I
it's
haven't.
just I just start teabagging throughout it, basically. so like there's a lot of teabagging.
Nice.
And it was so much fun. And I edit it a bit, and I put some. I'm hoping Dan's watched the version that I kind of worked on, because there's some funny stuff in that. Okay, and if you haven't seen it, you need to watch it. And there is some sounds and samples I've put into it that just make me laugh every single time. So it's not an hour long, unless he watched both. He might have done. So I'll do another one soon, and I would like to get you guys on there. Yeah.
Well, are you playing it on again?
I'm playing it on my Series X. But
I got it on the Series X, I believe.
But you can play it crossover. If you've got a PC, we can all play together. As long as we open the channels up so we can hear us all. I think you can hear my son talking on the last episode. But it was loads. We did a couple of games, and I think we got out twice. First one, I couldn't even work out all the bloody run. I think
that's what I was going to say. The first one, when you jumped on, and then you're just like, "What are the controls? I can't remember."
So I hadn't played for a little while, because like this last, what have I been playing? So I've been playing Dying Light 2 again. So I've been on that, and then I started playing Elite Dangerous with the old big controller. So I've just been floating around space, really.
Played No Man's Sky at all?
Yeah, I'm quite far into No
Yeah.
Man's Sky. It's good. That's got a lot better over the last.
Yeah, because when it came
over
out,
last-
it was
terrible.
rubbish, wasn't it?
It's a totally different game now.
Because they overpromised. They overpromised. They basically said this is what's in the game. It wasn't in the game, and then now if you watch the trailer, it's that and more. So
I've got it in VR as well, and that's made me feel as nauseous as I've ever felt. And it looks amazing in VR. It's incredible.
Yeah.
But honestly, I just felt ill. So yeah, we'll put another episode out next week with more samples and things like that. If you haven't seen it, watch it. It's had a few views now. But yeah, it's all about the teabagging, I think, and being as salty as you like. So let's get on it. Last thing I watched, right? So Joe Bob Briggs' newest episode that I watched on the old VPN on Shudder was The Monster Club. Who's seen that?
Nope.
Jess, can you bring it up? Can you bring it up or not?
You didn't send it to me.
I sent you the link, Jess.
Wait,
Let's not get into a big argument. It's called The Monster Club. Did I not send you a link for that? Maybe I didn't. So like,
telling me I can't do my job.
Jess, go now. Go now, quick, go.
It's not going to a big argument.
The Monster Club basically is like an anthology series where I can't remember the actor's name, but like there's a guy. It's not Vincent Price. It's someone like that. It could be Vincent Price. It's an old film, but there's a vampire meets this kind of writer out, and he decides to feed on him, and they get on very well after the feeding. And they takes him back to this monster club, and there's a few songs playing, and there's some stories that are told about some monsters. When a werewolf breeds with a vampire, it becomes a whatever.
Did they play Monster Mash?
No, but there are some great songs in it.
How did I know you were going to say that?
There's no Monster Mash in it. So we are related. Yes, Dan. Yes, Dan. So we are related. it's a load of fun. I'm amazed you haven't seen this. I'm going to buy it on Blu-ray, and if there's a 4K version, I will get it.
What's the one with the kids where they like go up against all the iconic horror thing? Like
That's
horror icons.
It. No, it's not it. It's like it.
Stranger Things. Just go through all of them.
Yeah,
No,
I know
but
the one you mean.
yeah,
Is that Monster Club as well.
I want to say it's the Monster Club or something.
I think it's called the Losers Club.
There we go. But anyway, it's well worth a watch. There's 3 little stories in there about what happens when you breed ghouls and vampires and whatever, werewolves, and it's just a bit of fun. And Joe Bob puts it so well and explains it all, and it's definitely worth a watch. And that was pretty much. I've got quite a few others. I watched Antlers. I've been watching Castle Rock. Nearly finished the first series, which I think is amazing. Dan's been watching Dashcam as well, which is on my list. I think the Final Guys watched both. There's 2 versions come out in the last year.
It's the same guys who made Host, isn't it?
Yes. Is it? It's
the same guy.
Is it? Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Or is it? Yeah, I think it is. I think you're right. Anyway, I need to see that found footage. But I think there's 2 versions of that film come out in the last year that are both found footage. So be careful what one you watch. Though they're both quite good, apparently. That's pretty much it. So next week, I think Dan's put on for his hot pick. We're going to be doing Southbound from 2015. Anyone seen that?
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, I've seen it a while ago. But yeah, I look forward to that. I don't know if... I think that's on Tubi TV, actually. So I will watch that. Next week, as we're kind of going with famous films or franchises, we will do the Friday the 13th There it is. He's got his little lunchbox in there with his little banana in there and whatever.
I'm going to school.
Yeah, so... So
which one?
Next
Which
week could be Friday the 13th remake. It's from the 2000. Is it 2000?
Is this the one with Jared Padalecki in it?
Yeah,
Yeah, from Supernatural.
It's not the original film, so we will hit some of them at some point. But we need to come up with a bit of a schedule of what we're doing. Like Evil Dead, see some of the films, the lesser known films, are not doing very well on YouTube, and there are others that are doing amazingly well. So we want to continue with the amazingly well thing. Because the podcast is kind of not doing that well at all. I think everyone's consuming it through YouTube now.
Because they love our faces.
Yeah, they like. Well, they like yours.
So,
they like mine.
Yeah.
Though the best episode we ever done, which was getting near 5,000 views now, is the one with me and Larry. So
I just slated everyone for having the wrong copy. I feel like that's
yeah. So we had the fucking shit version. We called it the fucking shit version.
Oh yeah, we have 2 giveaways now, don't we?
Oh, we still got the giveaway. So if you want a copy of the fucking shit version of Evil Dead,
and the copy that's not was made for the US, Human Centipede 2.
Human Centipede 2, which I think would probably be right up Dan's street, to be honest. But
it's like, well, guys, one at a time.
I haven't seen it.
One at a time. Who wants?
I haven't seen it. So I watched the first one. That was enough for me, really. Yeah. So yeah, we'll be back next week with that. And if you want to follow us on Twitter, it's the Bones Horror Pod. Instagram, which we used to do, didn't we, Jess? That's the Bones Horror Pod as well.
Poor Jess.
You wouldn't know Jess is a marketing manager. We should be doing so amazingly well. And you want to email us to, boneshorrorpod@gmail.com. If you want to come on the podcast, let us know. We'll get you on there and talk bollocks with us. So, yeah, we'll be back probably next week. I think we're all good for next week, aren't we? Yeah,
I think so.
Friday the 13th.
I also think as well that we should all try and play this new game called The Quarry.
Oh,
we'll be getting that.
It's by the guys who did Until Dawn.
Yeah.
But
Is that coming out on Xbox? Because I ever played that because I've got a PlayStation as well. and I played it on there, and that never came out on the Xbox. So
I want to say I want to say this the Quarriors, but they've done the same thing. They've done the same thing that the spin-off games of Until Dawn.
Can we play that all of us together?
I think so. I think you can play as a character, like because there's 4 of us.
Right.
So I think like I want to say it'll be 2 characters each because I think there's quite a lot. But I just think that would be hilarious. Just go through it completely without and just see how many people we
one episode. That'd be great. So yeah, so next week. Oh gosh. Anyway, thanks for watching and listening, and we'll see you all next week. Cheers, Em. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You're ignorant.